Your verbal delivery is really, really important when you're communicating with someone. And I've come up with a little secret formula, if you like, to have a think about when you're crafting your next communication when you're talking to someone. So the formula is called the SACC theory, right. SACC, and it's an acronym, and it stands for simple, authentic, clear and concise. Pretty simple. The important thing is that we're all bombarded with information all the time. So how to make sense of the information and actually have your message cut through all the other information that people are receiving. So keeping it simple is really, really effective, because an effective communicator is one that can take a complex thought and turn it into a simple concept that the person who's listening to the message is able to just grasp and act on. So really important to think about simplifying your thoughts. Communication is two-way. I just want to emphasise this. It's not about the message that you're delivering only. It's about how is the person that you're delivering the message to receiving.
Yeah.
You really need to think about the impact on the person, and keeping it simple means that they're going to be able to grasp it.
Similar to what Anita was saying last month about the resumes. It's not really your resume, it's their resume.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be the ones reading it.
That's right.
How do you make it look fantastic for them?
You've got to be on the same page in order to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. This is really the important thing. So that's simple. And if you're in an industry or business where there's a lot of jargon as well, in my previous life, I was actually a lawyer. I still have a practicing certificate, but legalese was the language that we spoke. And so keeping it simple as a lawyer was a really important thing to remember, to be able to speak to clients in a way that they understood. The second part of it is being authentic. This is about really being yourself in your communications, because sometimes you communicate with people and you feel like you have to put on a certain type of language to look good. But people want real. You're not actually able to inspire people to some action unless you create a connection with them, and part of it is being real. So it's really important to think about and know what your own values are and what you stand for, so that any message that you give then aligns with who you really are. And, you know, people can smell a fake a mile away. I'm sure you've all been in that situation where somebody said something to you and there's just something that doesn't feel quite right. So to be an effective influencer, if you want to influence people and communicate effectively, they have to trust you. So if you're being true to yourself and real, that really comes off, and that's really appealing and attractive in terms of people liking you, and then they're more likely to listen to you if they like you.
It's sales I'm thinking about, like as you're speaking, Amy. If someone's selling you something, and the different types of salesman approaches. And I love it when someone comes across as authentic and they believe in the product that they're selling. You do think that when they've stopped selling to you, that they may go home and use it.
Yeah.
Or they genuinely looks like they believe in what they're selling.
And how do you feel? You're more likely to buy if that's the case,
Absolutely.
aren't you? So it is a fantastic selling strategy to be authentic, I think.
Well, then I think of people like if you were to go to a health practitioner and that health practitioner was clearly not well, then you might not go to that health practitioner because, well, they're not looking after themselves.
Yeah.
Personal trainers, for example. Like you said at your workshop, a lot of what we see is body language, and if the body language isn't matching up with the message, it's not authentic.
And we're going to be talking about that definitely. But it's like being a relationship coach and being in breakups all the time and not having a steady relationship. I mean, you're not being authentic to who you are. You've got no credibility, basically. It's very important. So the clear and concise aspect of it, getting to the C parts.
Don't ramble.
Yeah, nobody likes a rambler. So you've got to think about having your primary purpose and what you actually want the message to deliver before you deliver it. So it's about being prepared. Write the things down that you want to say. That really helps. Being clear, having a singular and crystal clear focus makes it a lot easier for people to come with you. I'm loath to say it, but Donald Trump is actually a really good communicator, despite what you may think about his politics, because his vision and the message that he's putting across is pretty clear. Also being concise, use as few words as possible to deliver the message and then move on to the next point. So when you ramble, you tend to lose people. And women actually use 25% more words than men.
Have you noticed that, Mark?
I don't know if we're demonstrating that today. So it's thinking about just, again, simplifying the message, keeping it concise to the point, and people are more likely to listen to you. So that's my first tip. The importance of body language. I think when we're communicating with people, we forget that it's not just your words that matter. And in actual fact, the breakdown in terms of communication is 7% words, 55% your body language, your gestures, that sort of thing, your posture, and 38% your voice tone. So 93% of our communication is non-verbal. How do you guys feel about that? That's an amazing fact,
I
isn't
like
it?
that it's distributed. We're not all leaning on one element.
But the point is that I think we all focus a lot on what we're saying, which is only 7% of communication. So obviously on the radio, it's probably a bit more. It's a more important part. Yes. But our voice tone is very important over the radio. Our tone, our pitch, our volume, our speed. I just thought that was a really interesting statistic to make you think about the fact that, hey, we have to manage other parts of communication, not just the words that we're using. So what did you think about that, Jo, when you first heard that?
Well, I thought to myself, it's amazing that I can do what I can do, but on the other end of the scale is the person receiving my message. And that's the penny dropping, because although it's out of my control what they think, I can manoeuvre it to a point where they're accepting it and receiving it better. Similar to people that have got nice voices that make ads. One of our station sponsors, Nikki, her message is recorded on this radio station so that she can deliver it in a way that it's believed, and then we feel confident to use her business.
Along with body language, I think just being mindful that our body language speaks volumes, not just our words, comes confidence. So confidence is really, really crucial in terms of being an effective communicator, because people form an impression of you within the first 30 seconds of meeting you, whether you've spoken or not. So this is where the non-verbal communication comes in. When we talk about confidence in your communications, we're talking about the words you use, your body language, of course, but also the tonality of your voice. Use of a lower voice, keeping the pace steady, bit of volume to it, but in those lower ranges. And so that's called command tonality. Right. So that's really useful to inspire confidence in people that you know what you're doing. It's really good in negotiations because it leaves no room for people thinking you don't know what you're talking about. It's also good when you're telling off your kids. So don't do that. So the other type of tonality, and I'm going to use an example to illustrate it, is if you want to appear more friendly or approachable or in your normal interactions, you would use a softer voice, maybe a bit questioning at the end, bit of a higher pitch. It's the difference between, on a flight, listening to the air hostess and listening to the captain. Good morning, everybody. You're on a flight from Melbourne to Denpasar, Bali. We're going to be flying at 35,000 feet. The weather is fine. You will be well looked after by your hostesses on board, and please let me know if there's any issues. Command tonality. When you're a captain on a flight, you really want to be leaving people with no room to doubt you, that's for sure. As compared to when the air hostesses do their spiel at the start about safety instructions.
I know those off by heart.
Go on.
You do it, Carolyn.
Can you
Go
demonstrate it in a sort of softer tone, bit questioning at the end?
Go on.
Give it a go.
The only one that I was a flight attendant. I was never the purser. But we'd do a seatbelt one. So I don't have a glass of wine, but anyway, give it a crack. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. In preparation for landing, please make sure that your tray table is stowed. Your luggage is either underneath the seat in front of you or in an overhead locker. Please take time to review your safety briefing card.
And if you need anything, would be very happy to help you. Questioning tone at the end.
And on flight also, you'd be surprised with the amount of people on board that aren't the best flyers. They might not come forward and say that, but they're sitting there quite nervously.
And you want to inspire confidence in them.
Yeah, so I think that exactly what you're saying about that command tone in the captain, that plays a huge role in people's comfort.
Absolutely.
And also yours, Carolyn, how efficiently you delivered it and how you kept it nice and even.
That was great, by the way.
That was fantastic. They're the same with the body language when you go flying and you see the captain get onto the plane. Oh, good, the captain's on the plane. You know, isn't that a relief?
We can go.
And he always walks with a swagger, always dressed to the nines. And the other thing I just want to mention is how you dress is also really important. And we were having this discussion off air about dressing to communicate effectively, because when you're in a corporate role, for example, and even in my own experience working as a coach, I do corporate work and public workshops, and I'll dress differently for a corporate role to look more professional and got it all together. But in a public workshop, I'll probably dress a little bit more fun, still professional and groomed. But it's about the message that you're putting across and what outcome you want to achieve.
When you see all the air hostesses at, say, Qantas, you can tell that they're with Qantas because of the colours that they're wearing. You can tell that they're with Virgin because of the colours that they're wearing. They're easily identified. And that's, I think, why people go to those lengths to make sure their uniforms all match. And it works.